for his first hit of the year. He drives one, deep left field. That goes Upton, back near the wall. It's out of here! Bartolo has done it! The impossible has happened! The 1-1 for Dawson. Batista with a drive, deep left field. No doubt about it!
And the 0-1 pitch on the way to Edgar Martinez. Swung on and lined down the left field line for a base hit. Here comes Joy. Here is Junior to third base. They're going to wave him in. The throw to the plate will be late. The Mariners are going to play for the American League Championship. I don't believe it.
You got to give us a shot.
You know what?
You got to give us a shot.
Okay, listen to me. Let me hear what I'm saying, okay?
Welcome back to Sitting Dead Red. This is episode 6 of our second season. I am Kevin, joined by Conor, and now Jake, pretty much as always. You're a regular now.
Hell yeah.
I think what I want to start off first with, you guys had a good idea to go with bold predictions and some hot takes, if you will. So I think we're going to start off strong with that. We each picked 5. Jake, I'll let you start. I'm gonna come out hot, but I'll let you start.
We'll just go one at a time. We just keep going.
Yeah. We'll go one each.
So my first one involves one of your teams, Kevin, because now you have the Orioles and the Yankees. It's like a double one, I think. So Yankees, as we know, injuries hitting them hard right now. I think there's too much to overcome. Yankees missed the playoffs. Rays would run away with the division.
Wow.
Okay. I thought. See, when you said it was about one of my teams, I thought this was going to be positive. God damn. Wow, coming out hot.
Yeah, definitely did not have that on my sheet.
So you think the Blue Jays make the playoffs then?
Yeah, I think the Rays
it's just
win.
The Yankees fall out.
High 90s.
Fair enough.
I can definitely see the Rays winning high 90s.
Yeah, I mean, when you start off 16-3, you got a pretty good shot, right?
Right.
They lost 3 games. They suck.
Yeah. They lost their first loss of the season to Jose Barrios. Like, really? Are you serious?
That actually doesn't make sense.
Are you kidding me?
Rasmussen came in with a 0 ERA against Barrios, and somehow they don't come out on top after winning.
Like 11 ERA. He pitches okay. I think he pitched pretty well that game, actually.
Well, I'll go with my first, which is for your team, Conor. So the AL Central last year, 2022, Guardians won by 11 games. My prediction this year is the Twins win the AL Central by the same or greater margin than the Guardians won it last year.
Nice.
Yeah, no shit. That was the first one I had written down, too.
I can agree with that.
I had the Twins win the AL Central by 10-plus games is what I had down.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, it's I really like the Twins starting pitching this year. I mean, they've got, like, I think 3 of their starting pitchers are in the top 10 in strikeouts right now. Just total strikeouts being Pablo Lopez, Sonny Gray, and Joe Ryan.
First in ERA overall as a team.
Right. The starting rotation's been really good. The bullpen's been pretty solid. Got roughed up today and roughed up a little bit in this Red Sox series. But, I mean, trip out east against the Yankees and the Red Sox, they still won 3 of 7 games, which isn't too bad. Would have liked to take 2 or 3 from the Red Sox, but splitting 2-2 with the Yankees on the road, obviously not bad. Yeah, and I mean, that AL Central's wide open, really.
And it's kind of interesting. Like, I feel like they're kind of structured in a way, kind of like the Guardians were last year, where they're like kind of middle of the pack as far as hitting is concerned, but really like top of the game with their starting pitching and, a somewhat reliable bullpen to kind of get them over the edge. But I do think they have the potential to be even above average hitting, because I think Correa hasn't done that well. Kepler's been out with an injury, and even when he's been healthy, he hasn't like really hit, to the power that he usually does. And then it's kind of the same thing with Buxton. I think there's definitely more production there. So I would say that, maybe they make a move at the deadline to get a little bit more hitting, but I really do like them, just as strong as that pitching has looked so far. I really think that they can take that, through the whole year, honestly.
I'm very ready for the Twins to move off of Max Kepler. It's really just that 1 year. If you look back at Max Kepler, it's just that 1 year.
He's a 220 hitter. He's a 220 hitter.
Right, and he doesn't have. I mean, he has a decent amount of pop, but it's just He's not a great
he's a guy
defensive field. I mean, he's a good outfielder, but he's not.
Whatever happened to Royce Lewis?
Still coming back from his torn ACL from last year.
Yeah, it was beginning of last year, right?
Yeah, so he's still working his way back. I don't think he's played in any minor league games yet, as far as I'm aware. I'm sure he'll get some action at some point this year. Joey Gallo's been good for the Twins so far this year.
I saw he hit a home run last night, right?
Yep. I do think the Twins need another left-handed bat in their lineup. I think they have to make a move for a left-handed bat.
Yeah, which they're out there. I mean, I'm sure they will.
Yep.
Um,
Speaking of that kind of takes me into another of the bold takes that I had, which was about Joey Gallo. My bold take was that he hits 30-plus home runs this year in Minnesota.
Okay, that's not too far-fetched. I could see that.
I don't think it's too far-fetched. He's been really good this year. He's hitting over 300 right now. I mean, he missed a week or so, and he's still got 4 home runs, I think, this year. 4 or 5 home runs now. I really...
He's hitting the ball.
The reemergence of Joey Gallo, I'm all in on this year.
All right.
Playing first base, he doesn't have to worry about the fielding as much, probably. We'll see.
Yeah, is he DHing every day? He's not playing the outfield?
He's playing first base for the Twins.
Oh, he's playing first base.
Byron Buxton's moved to full-time DH now.
He's a damn good outfielder, though.
He has a cannon for an arm.
Yeah, he's
the
a
Twins
damn
have
good
a lot of
outfielder.
outfielders, though.
Yeah.
And he might move to the outfield once Alex Kirilloff comes back for the Twins. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. But
All right, Jake, go ahead.
My second one involves the NL East, and I have the Braves winning the NL East by double digits.
Wow.
Yep.
I was tempted to like throw out like some crazy number and say the Braves are going to win like 110 games or something when I was like looking at like what
I think
to
they
do.
could win one low ones to mid like 105. I don't know. I think the Mets should come in second, but Mets starting pitching is an absolute shit show right now.
Yeah.
I mean, their ace is Kodai Senga, and the guy hasn't pitched against a real team yet. He's faced the Marlins twice in the Athletics.
Yeah, and we'll get through our bold predictions, and then we'll kind of go back to the Scherzer thing that we were kind of talking about before we started recording. But
right now, they have
just kind of sucks that Verlander's already out with an injury, and now Scherzer's going to miss 2 starts now. So my second, beginning of the year, I picked the Cardinals to win the division. I'm saying that the Cardinals are the 3rd best team in their division, and they finished 3rd in the division. I think the Brewers are pretty clearly playing really well this year, so I don't think anybody is surprised there. But I really do like the Cubs, and I really do think that the Cardinals are just underwhelming this year. Their pitching's been terrible. Starting pitching hasn't been good. Their bullpen's been okay. They are 23rd in starter ERA, 11th in bullpen ERA, and they're 19th in runs scored. Brewers look really strong. Cubs so far this year are 3rd in starter ERA, 17th in bullpen ERA, and 9th in runs scored. I think they moved up though because they like scored 12 runs last night, so I think they're up, to like top 5 of runs scored this season. And I just like them a lot. Marcus Stroman, he has a .75 ERA this year, but even the last few years, he hasn't had an ERA in the 4s since 2017, 2018. I think he's a reliable guy. Justin Steele, I still want to see more from him, but he's been very strong this year. And the lineup's good. Wisdom's hitting home runs. Nico Horner is stealing bases, hitting for average. Bellinger's going to be terrible, but he's hitting well right now. Ian Happ's been good. Dansby's been good, and I think there's even more production from Swanson as well. So that's my prediction. I think the Cardinals finished 3rd in that division. I don't think they're as good as I thought they were at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, well, this sucks because you keep on taking what I have up next. You almost hinted at 2 of them right there. But the next that I had on my list was, I took it a step further, actually. I said the Cardinals finished bottom 2 in the NL Central. I really don't trust their starting pitching.
The Reds?
I think the
Pirates?
I think the Pirates finish above them
right now.
The Pirates are playing really well. Starting pitching's been pretty good for the Pirates. They have that elite level closer in David Bednar. O'Neal Cruz is out. I think he's out for a few months. That hurts certainly. Jack Sawinski's been hitting the ball really well recently. What do you say, Jake?
Yeah.
Said Andrew McCutcheon's playing like an MVP.
Right, yeah. His walk-off hit was really cool. Yeah. I don't know. It's a bold take, I guess, but Yeah, I'm very
Yeah.
far out on the Cardinals right now. I don't have any faith
Yeah,
in that team.
and I think it was kind of what we talked about preseason. Like I talked about that, I did pick them, but I was kind of worried if they were too reliant on Arenado and Goldschmidt. And it's not that those two guys are necessarily playing badly, but they're not playing at an MVP level. And I think they both need to play at like close to an MVP level for that team to be as good as we'd like them to be, just because I don't think the rest of the lineup and the pitching is as reliable as it would need to be otherwise. So,
Right. Well, let me get another hot take out there before someone steals this one, because I think this might be on someone else's list. Because maybe it's not. Well, I don't know. I had the Rangers win the AL West as my next one.
I did not have that, but I like the pick.
Because I mean, obviously the overwhelming.
You had that?
Astros.
No, okay.
I don't know. I'm not.
Bochy was my manager of the year, though, so I like that pick.
Yeah. The Astros starting pitching hasn't been great so far this year. They've been a little underwhelming at times. The lineup's not producing a ton of runs. They have like games where they certainly score a lot of runs, but then they struggle in other times. It feels like they really need Jose Altuve back. I haven't heard anything about him. I have no idea what the timetable on that is. It might change when he comes back. Like, I'm sure they get better. I mean, they obviously get better when Jose Altuve comes back, but
yeah,
I really like the Rangers. We were questioning it a little bit, I know, on like our preseason podcast, like, why do you spend all this money on DeGrom? Like, you don't have the roster to compete in this division, but like, they did buy like an entirely new starting pitching rotation. They've made some other under the radar moves that have kind of seem to have pushed them over the edge a little bit. Certainly a team to keep an eye on. I really do think they've got a good chance to win the AL West this year.
Yeah, I mean, I like the team a lot. Their starting pitcher had a big upgrade. I mean, I think their whole rotation might be new.
I think it's just Martin Perez that's back, right? I think he's the only one.
Yeah, I think for the most part it's new, but
John Gray, he's a pretty solid starter. He's not bad.
Yeah, but like, I like Nate Lau. I like Marcus Semien. I like that lineup a lot. So I could definitely see it. I still have I still think the Astros will play better. I mean, it's tough to. I think a lot of people were downplaying like losing Justin Verlander though. Like he was just so good last year, and it's just everybody kind of expected it to be like business as normal with him walking out the door, and that's just not going to be the case. But I'll go on to my third. I'm going to rep my Orioles here a little bit. I'm going to have another Orioles pick later, but I predict that somebody will steal 60 bags this year. And I was going to say, like before this started, that the two guys that I think have the best chance are Cedric Mullins and Jorge Mateo. Unfortunately, Jorge Mateo went out with an injury yesterday. I don't think it's major. It's just like it was hip soreness or something like that. But the Orioles seem to be just in a mode of just letting their guys kind of go and run. And I think that strategy may just, make them super aggressive on the base pass. I think Volpe and Miles Straw have a chance if they can get on base enough. I think Nico Horner has a chance. I think a lot of guys have a chance if they get aggressive with the new rules. There was 303 stolen bases in 2020 through the end of April, 303. So far, currently in 2023, with still 10 days left in April, there's close to 400, like a 25% increase. There's 4 guys that are over 4 stolen bases through April 30th, 2022 last year. There's 4 guys over 4. So far, there's 15 guys over 4 stolen bases this year. And they're stealing at an 81% success rate, which was only 75% last year. So I think everything's kind of pointing to more guys stealing bags. Nico Horner and I think Mullins are tied with 9 right now to lead the league. And I think they can keep up a similar rate. And I think there's a chance that somebody gets 60. I think it's almost positive that somebody gets 50.
Yeah, I can see that, honestly, with these new rules. I mean, guys are stealing bases left and right. Just a few games you watch. It's like you almost feel like any guy that has any speed is probably just going to steal on the first or second pitch. Why would you not? I mean, that's...
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to throw over, so you might as well just go.
Well, I mean, with Anthony Volpe, I mean, he's just dancing off the bag, and you throw over once, and then it's like you're almost scared to throw over a second time because then you're kind of in this pinhole of like, well, shit, I can't throw over a third time. So it kind of puts them in a bad position. So, I think all the rules are pointing to obviously more stolen bases. That's what they wanted, and I think there's a shot that somebody gets 60 this year.
I can see that. I'll jump into mine. You're gonna like this one, Connor. I think that Pablo Lopez is gonna keep this up, and he's gonna win the AL Cy Young.
Oh,
Guy looks absolutely filthy right now.
That's a hell of a pick right there.
I don't know. I think he just. I mean, I know he was hot to start the year last year. That's the only.
The crazy thing is Sonny Gray might be having a better year so far. Like, just that's how good the rotation has been.
Yeah,
is that you can like compare those guys and say that, you know, one might be better than the other as good as a year they're having. It's crazy.
Yeah, pitcher's ballpark in Minnesota too. Colder weather for one. Ball doesn't travel as far, and it's a pretty big field. Yeah, it's not outlandish certainly. Like, I mean,
no, I like
he's been pitching at a Cy Young level so far this year. Obviously early, but
I mean, I think through May or June last year, I mean, he had like a sub-2, right? I mean, he looked like he was going to be.
He just got to keep it up.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like he was going to be in the Cy Young talk last year. I mean, I could see it happening.
I think it helps if he's on a contender. Like last year was on a contender. That does change a lot when you're not on a contender. It's just like, I feel like, why are you wasting your time?
Okay, I'll roll with my fourth pick. This one's, it's all right, but I think Aaron Judge and Pete Alonso both hit 50 home runs. Judge hitting back-to-back 50 home run seasons has only been done by A-Rod, Ken Griffey, Babe Ruth, Sammy Sosa, and Mark McGwire. Aaron Judge would be one of 5 players with 3 or more 50 homer seasons: A-Rod, Babe Ruth, McGwire, Sosa. It's kind of crazy. Do you know that Barry Bonds has only had 1 year of 50 home runs, and it was 73 home runs? He has never hit 50 home runs other than that season.
No kidding. Huh.
That's kind of wild.
So he only has 1 50 homer season, and it was 73 home runs. Isn't that crazy? And then Mark McGwire and Sosa both had like 54 times. But and then even Pete Alonso, he would be one of 10 players with 2 or more 50 home run seasons. So I think Aaron Judge, Pete Alonso both hit 50. I think Pete Alonso also wins the home run derby for a third time.
I like that.
Yeah,
I'm with it.
And I think New York sees some bombs. Okay, I'll rephrase that.
These are baseball predictions, Kevin. Baseball predictions.
Don't get me canceled now. I don't hate that either. Yeah.
I mean, Pete Alonso's what? He's at 8 or 9 or something like
really
that.
Hot start. Yeah.
Yeah.
And his home runs are just lasers right now too. It's not even just.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. I'll give my kind of fourth one here. I guess it's technically my fifth, but I've got one that I kind of thought of that I was going to bring up earlier. Not really. I don't know. I wasn't going to make it into a take, but now I'll make it into a hot take.
Okay.
So this one, I think the Cubs get 2 All-Stars out of their starting rotation, and you were talking about them earlier, Kevin. But I think Justin Steele and Marcus Stroman both are All-Stars this year. So they both made 4 starts so far this year. All 8 starts between the two of them have been quality starts. They both have ERAs under 1.5. Marcus Stroman's being under 1. Both have WHIPs under 1. Yeah. Justin Steele's only given up home runs, or only given up runs so far on home runs, 2 home runs, 4 earned runs over the course of the year. He's not walking a lot of guys. Starting like in June of last year, he was really hot. Like, he was one of the better pitchers in the MLB. Yeah, he's definitely worth monitoring. Like, young guy.
You know what's kind of interesting about him? He only throws a fastball and a slider. Because I was looking into that. Mm-hmm. He doesn't throw any other pitches, really. I mean, he might throw like a changeup like 0.something% of the time, but it's almost like, I think it's like 90% of the time, 90-something% where it's a fastball and a slider. So you don't really see that a lot of times from like starters dominating with just 2 pitches. You know, you see that more like out of the bullpen. But in 24 starts last year, I mean, he had a 3.18. So, I mean, he's had enough starts where the sample size is there. I mean, it just seems that he's got good stuff and it's working.
Right. Yeah. And I think that ERA like plummeted like month by month. If you go through break it down month by month, I don't have it up right now, but I know he was a lot better towards the tail end of that year.
Yeah.
And I mean, Stroman, he's always been a big name pitcher. He's been good in the past. He just hasn't been like a All-Star Cy Young.
Yeah, I just thought, like what I was kind of talking about before, I just thought he had worse seasons, like leading up to this one. I thought that, I know, because I think at times he had struggled a lot and he had his ERA up. I just didn't realize that he's never really had like an ERA much over 3.5 like the last 4 or 5 years. He's been very good,
He's such a
better than I
consistent
thought.
pitcher. He's such a consistent pitcher. I remember
He's been much better than I thought in like recent years. And yeah, I don't disagree with that pick. I think they can both be all stars. I kind of talked about it before. I like the Cubs a lot, and I think that starting rotation may be a reason that they get there. What are you up to, Jake? Are you on your fourth or fifth?
Fourth.
All right, go with your fourth because I just have my fifth left.
I originally just had a boring one. I don't know why. I have Ohtani hitting 50 plus homers and a sub 2.5 ERA.
Is that an MVP season?
Oh, you have Ohtani winning the MVP. Yeah.
We already knew that, but yeah, I mean,
should I play the clip of Aaron Judge robbing his home run right now? Because I have it in the media right here.
All right, so he'll hit 52 instead of 53. No,
That's a good pick. I like that pick.
He's insane.
His
but then
pitching has been
then he gets
dominant.
traded to the Dodgers, so then we don't care about him anymore.
Yeah,
so.
his pitching has been dominant. It's been kind of crazy. I think he's got close to a 1 ERA, 2 or 3-0, and pretty much striking out the world. So,
Why not?
Kind of crazy.
Who put out the tweet today that was saying like the Angels will either trade Shohei Ohtani or will leave in free agency if they don't?
I don't think that was true.
No.
I read something else that said the Angels are not going to trade him. Like, no way they trade him.
Wait, they're saying that he said something about that?
No, I think someone in the Angels front office supposedly did.
I guess I don't. I mean, if you can,
it'd be crazy not to trade him, right?
You can't lose him in free agency if you're bad.
Right.
Yeah, I think you should trade him, but just because you're going to get more value than you ever could, and I don't think.
What if the Angels are good at the trade deadline, though?
Or do you think they're going to be?
That's a discussion. Yeah, we should talk about that. Like, do the Angels have a chance at the playoffs this year?
I mean, I think when you have two of the best, I don't know, let's say 5 players in the world, I think you have a chance, right? Where you don't think, why did you make that face?
But in baseball, it doesn't fucking matter. That's the problem. They've done this for the last 5 years.
I didn't realize he thought of Taylor Ward so highly.
I mean, he's the best April baseball player of all time.
Right, yeah. I mean, outside of them, like, what do they really have that you think you can even count on for a decent chunk of the year? It's clearly not Anthony Rendon. Like, I mean,
not at all.
I've given up.
You could rely on certain things with Anthony Rendon, and it's yelling at a fan, but not production at the plate.
No. It's just, yeah. I mean, they've got some names, but it's nothing like a name that you can trust day in, day out, it seems like.
Yeah.
So I don't see them being in like serious playoff contention come July.
I understand your point. If they're in contention, I just don't see it happening. But I'm going to go to my 5th pick, and it's the reason that I am wearing this jersey. Adley Rutschman is the best catcher in baseball today. He will be for the next decade, and I think within that decade he wins an MVP and the Baltimore Orioles win a World Series.
Mark that down.
Mark it down.
So
next decade.
The Orioles winning a World Series in the next decade.
I don't care about JT Realmuto. I don't care about Alejandro Kirk. Adley Rutschman is the best catcher in baseball today.
Are we including defense in on this?
Yes.
Okay. Just curious. It's not.
He was the best blocking. He was the best blocking catcher last year. Had an above average pop time, above average framing. His blocking hasn't been as good in the small sample size this year, but I think that'll smooth itself out. And if we extrapolate his production so far to 162 games, because everybody knows that 17 games of production goes for a full season. So he's going to have 200 hits, 38 home runs, 124 RBIs, 152 walks, and only 95 strikeouts. Mark it in the books right now because it's going to happen. And that's my 5th pick.
I mean,
how far off do you think he is from an MVP?
I think 3 or 4 years he can do it.
All right.
I agree.
I think you're the only one with a fifth pick left, Jake.
Oh. What does that say? I mean, it was essentially said, but I'll circle back to the NL Central. I had the Cubs winning the NL Central. I
Okay.
think I had the Cubs. I think it'd be Cubs, Brewers, Cardinals.
See, I think that's a hotter take than me and Connor's take, because that's saying that the Brewers are going to take a step back, and you think the Cubs will be better than them?
Yeah, I think the Brewers are really young. They'll keep it up, but they're also relying on a lot of guys that are a lot of. I think they have a bunch of like really young guys and rookies and stuff playing. I don't know. I think they're playing a little higher than what they really are. I do think they're better than the Cardinals. I agree. They'll finish top 2 in the division. I think maybe win 90 games, but I could see the Cubs winning to mid-90. I think it'd be close. I think it could be one of those that comes down to the last week or so. Low 90s, kind of high 80s division, but I don't see the I can honestly see the Cardinals coming 4th in the division. I could agree with that pick. I just think they look terrible.
I really don't doubt it. I did consider that pick just because like the Pirates have started off so well. I did consider that pick. I don't know if I see that happening. But I think that round, Connor, did you say you had a sixth one that you came up with?
Kind of. So it was just a player that I wanted to talk about because he's off to a rough start kind of again here in 2023. I think with the way he's playing this year, Juan Soto plays himself out of a contract starting with a 5.
Okay. I mean, he's batting like 180. I could see that.
Right. So, like, I mean, looking back at it, like, since, like, that COVID-shortened season, and the season following it, I suppose, where he still, like, looking at it, he still hit 313, still had an on-base percentage of 465, but it wasn't like he led the league in batting average, on-base percentage, and slugging like he did in that COVID-shortened season. It's been downhill pretty steadily since then. His on-base percentage is still pretty high up there. Batting average hasn't been there. The slugging hasn't really been there. And this year it's also like an even worse start than usual. But curiously enough, I was looking at the StatCast. Obviously, small sample size this year. But like his expected batting average, expected slugging, all that stuff isn't that bad. Like it's top half of the league. So like I think to a degree it's just been like his hard hit percentage is the highest it's been of his career at 53.1%. It's like how much of it is just like this being a small sample size and him getting unlucky.
Well, my concern with him is like he doesn't seem like aggressive enough. Like I understand you want to draw walks, you want to get on base, but like if you want to be your franchise's player, I don't think you should be taking as many pitches and be trying to draw 140 walks because like he's never had a season where he's hit 30 home runs, or maybe he's had one. And it's just like, yeah, like walks are great, on base percentage is great. It does produce runs, but I think maybe he's just a little bit too patient at times. And I wish that he was a little bit more aggressive, you know, just being one of the best players in the game. I just wish he attacked the ball a little bit more sometimes. And I mean, but he's still a young player. Maybe he'll figure it out. But I think you may be right. I don't think he'll get as much money as we thought. I think Ohtani may set the mark for the most money ever, and I think Soto might be, you know, maybe a ways behind that more than we thought.
I'll go off that. I think I'll take another take. I think with his stupid money, Steve Cohen will sign either Soto or Ohtani. I think even with this, I think he'll still put a 5 for that payroll.
All right.
I think Steve Cohen does not care about money.
Likes to splash cash.
I mean, it really just depends on like if it's a bidding war as far as like if there's a lot of teams that can afford that.
I mean,
and if
Mets, if it's a money thing, the Mets will not lose a bidding war. Steve Cohen will not let that happen. He's psychotic.
Yeah.
The guy will do literally anything to him. He will sign every player.
Yeah.
I can certainly see Juan Soto going to New York. I don't know if I can see Shohei Ohtani going to the East Coast.
I just think he might give him like the most like just he might give him $600 million.
Yeah.
Which would be absolutely insane, but he might.
That would be pretty crazy.
But I think he'll stay on the West Coast. I would be surprised if Ohtani honestly didn't go to the Dodgers.
All right. Well, I wanted to talk about, while we're talking about the Mets, I want to talk about like the sticky substance situation that we got going on here. So we kind of talked about it before. I was pretty convinced when all the Herman thing came out that he was definitely using a substance. It doesn't really make any sense to me why you'd set up the protocol as far as checking the gloves if you're not going to throw somebody out. I thought that was the whole point. I don't really understand letting him leave in the game or telling him to wash his hands or telling him to change his glove. Even with Scherzer, I don't understand why are you telling him to change his glove? Either you think he's using an illegal substance and he should be ejected from the game, or you let him pitch. There is no in between. There is no in between. If he's using rosin, then it's not a problem. He doesn't need to wash his hands. If he isn't using rosin and he's using something else, you need to eject him from the game. I don't understand why there's a middle ground. It's one side or the other. And kind of the things that's like happening with the Scherzer, I'm almost 100% positive that Scherzer, as long as he's been in the league, he's not going to risk his illustrious career to do it in a meaningless regular season game. I don't think he's cheating. I'm 100% convinced that he is using rosin. So where do we draw the line? Do they know enough about what rosin and sweat feels like versus sticky substance? Does it feel the same? I don't know where they're drawing the line, but I'm not convinced that Domingo Germán was cheating based on what happened with Scherzer, and I'm fairly certain that Scherzer wasn't cheating. So I don't know why he's ejected from that game, and I definitely don't know why he's ejected for an additional 10 games.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me because it's punishment enough to be ejected from the game in the third inning when you pitch 3 scoreless innings, you're pitching great. That's punishment enough. Now you have 10 games because he showed up the umpire. That means he misses 2 starts. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really understand the rule that much. I mean, I guess if rosin's not allowed, they just have to be more specific. But yeah, I don't understand it. I don't know why it's such a big deal either, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, this is the statement they released. Like, they basically said, rosin's fine, but when it's used in an excessive manner or applied directly to the glove. So I don't know if they're saying that he had rosin on his glove and that was the issue.
But I don't know why it even matters. Like, in my opinion, like, who fucking
You
cares?
put the bag on the mound. I should be able to do whatever the hell I want with it. I should be able to. What I don't understand about Germán, though, is, him and Boone talked about that he uses the rosin in the dugout, which doesn't really, like, in between innings, which doesn't really make sense to me because once he goes out on the mound, he is sweating again. So you think he would want to use rosin, like, in between pitches, but then again, maybe he doesn't have enough time with the pitch clock. So I don't really know what the situation. I'll pull up the clip here. We'll look at Germán first.
Well, right around the first base foul line, Domingo Germán is having his hands examined by the umpiring crew. The crew chief is James Hoy, who really studied Germán's hands for a long time coming off the mound in the third inning. And take a look. He looks at the glove. He's feeling the laces, and then really does a thorough examination of the hands. But then when he's coming out again, they can check you any time now. So he's coming back to the mound to pitch in this inning, and they got together, and now they're having a little conference away from Aaron Boone and the Yankee team. So Hoy is the crew chief. He's the first base umpire today. And looks like he's giving him more instructions than telling him he's going to get thrown out. So it looks like he's going to stay in. If they had found anything on his hands, they'd throw him out.
See, that's what I don't understand, because like they've done like breakdowns where they have like the angles where you can see what they're saying or like read their lips, and whoever the crew chief is goes, "I thought I told you to wash it off." Like,
yeah, so why isn't he ejected right then and there?
Why did he not get ejected? Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense. I don't understand.
And what makes me think is like, why? If you're the only reason I can think of is that you're not ejecting him right then and there is that you know that it's rosin and you know that it's not illegal. Because if you definitely know that it's an illegal substance and you're like, this doesn't feel right, why aren't you ejecting him right away? Like, that's the whole point of putting the rule in place that you're checking them every inning to prevent these substances from being used. It just doesn't make sense to me. And maybe they don't want certain things on the glove. Maybe they don't want rosin used in the glove. I've never used rosin, so I don't know if putting rosin on the glove helps. It would seem like something that you would want on your hands, and I don't know that it really helps in the glove very much, but clearly the umpires don't know enough about rosin.
Yeah, I don't know myself either, but I mean, clearly it's got to do something where it helps a little bit. But again, I don't know why it matters, to be honest with you. Like, I mean, I understand not using like what they used to, like, spider tack, whatever the fuck that was called.
Yeah.
But now with this new rule, it honestly, the hitters are benefiting more. So if they use a lot of pine tar, there's a lot of pine tar, whatever the hell it is, rosin.
Yeah.
Who cares? I don't know why.
And it just it just kind of pisses me off because like we're at a point where we're speeding up the pitchers. We're telling the pitchers that they can't throw over. We're making the bags bigger so that stolen bases are easier. Then we're also saying that we're gonna at the beginning of the season they said that we're gonna call balks more often and we're gonna not let you use rosin properly either. So like, what are you supposed to do as a pitcher? Like we talk about like, oh, the runs are up, point something a game or a percentage wise. Yeah, like no shit. When you put the pitchers in a bad position in like every way possible, maybe they want more. I of course they always want more offense at the game, but like this isn't the way to do it. But we'll look at the Scherzer here because you can kind of hear the Mets announcers
from the game, presumably for having a sticky substance on his hand. The crew chief Dan Bellino did the ejecting, and now Buck Showalter in conversation with Bellino as Scherzer has been ejected from the game. So he had his glove switched earlier, and they're looking at the second glove, and they were looking at his pitching hand as well.
Well, what Cuzzy was telling, and Bellino got involved, is that even though it's a new glove, it feels like the old glove. Or did Max go back to the old glove and try to take whatever substance was on it or on his hand off the glove? That might be the case. He might have brought the old glove back. I mean, Buck Showalter has said that you could ask about every pitcher in baseball using sticky substances every inning. And this has become a real crazy time here in Los Angeles.
So this was right before the last half inning that Scherzer pitched, before the top of the third. And putting some tape on his glove hand.
Is that to secure the pitch comp inside of his glove? Maybe that's what that's for. So maybe the tape inside the glove produces some sticky stuff that leaves a remnant on Max's hand. Max is saying that the sticky stuff is on my left hand. I don't throw with my left hand.
I just don't get it. And I mean, Phil Cuzzy, we kind of talked about it before, but there's only been 3 ejections since they implemented the rule, and they've all been by Phil Cuzzy. So I don't really know much about what the other 2 ejections were or what the context was, but doesn't really seem good that the same guy did it 3 times and no other umpires, raised concern outside of, I guess, the Domingo-Germán situation. So I don't know what's going to come of it. I thought that the situation was kind of over, and now that they're laying down this 10-game suspension, it just seems like they're making it worse. And I hate Rob Manfred more and more by the day. So
I think the Mets will appeal the suspension, so we'll see if it gets overturned.
I don't think they are. I think they
are they not?
Honestly, I don't mind it.
I hope they do for this, just for the sake of not letting umpires make the game about themselves continuously, because we seem to be past the days of Joe West and Angel Hernandez calling bad balls and strikes to make the game about them themselves. So I guess they needed to find another way with other umpires. So I don't know. I don't like it. If they were cheating, I fully stand by doing whatever ramifications need to be done to prevent cheating. But I just don't think that was the case. Definitely not in Scherzer's case, and maybe not in Germán's case. But I don't get it. But we'll move on from that because it's just going to piss me off. But I did want to talk about some of the the new StatCast edition. I don't know if you guys have seen any of the bat tracking stuff. Have you guys seen any of that?
I haven't looked at much of the bat tracking stuff. I was looking at one thing that I'll get to after you talked.
Yeah, it seems like pretty much after every game, if there was a big home run, big double, any big hit, if you go on MLB.com and you look at all the videos that show the highlights, if you scroll down a little bit more, they have all the bat tracking data of the big hits. I could pull one up for Judge's home run last night and kind of show you what it looked like. first, of course. But yeah, it seems pretty cool. I'll share my screen here so you guys can see it. So this is what it looks like. And then kind of as you play it through, it kind of shows the bat path, shows the speed of the bat, and then the exit velocity after it leaves the bat.
Jeez, it's kind of sweet.
So what it's kind of like designed to show is a guy like Aaron Judge, who might be like a little bit bigger and stronger. Maybe he can produce 112 mile an hour exit velocity, only having like 85 mile an hour bat speed. But maybe a guy like Jose Altuve or somebody like that needs to, have a bat speed that's 90 or something like that to produce the same exit velocity. So I think it'll tell some cool things about the game as far as, now that we kind of it's come pretty much normal to talk about like launch angle and exit velocity, kind of get to that next step of, what's the bat path to actually get to that exit velocity, to actually get to that launch angle. Where is the bat going to kind of produce that? So I'll let you run with, I just wanted to kind of go over that quickly because I think that's a cool addition to StatCast, and it's something that I'm going to keep an eye on for the full year. I don't know if they have fully in place, but I think they changed some of like the Hawkeye StatCast cameras to be able to really look at that. So I think it's a cool addition to StatCast, and I'll let you run with what you're going to say, Connor.
Yeah, another thing they added to StatCast this year was pitch movement, so you can like search pitch movement's not searchable. And the reason I was looking at this is I saw something on Twitter today that was breaking down Devin Williams and his changeup, the airbender, and it's every changeup that he's thrown this year has had 17 inches or more of horizontal break. So it's breaking like the length of the plate or the width of the plate.
How do you hit that?
You don't. Like it's just insane. Like the guy the pitch is crazy. I mean, you see it's like it moves so much.
And you could see that for like a slider, but a changeup or whatever the hell you want to call it is just crazy.
That's nuts.
Because they were talking about like how good Ohtani's, I guess they're calling it a sweeper now. It can't be called a slider anymore. I don't know what all this extra terminology is.
Slutter.
Yeah, it's a slutter. But like they were talking about his slider, going 14 or 15 inches. But that's a slider. It's supposed to be horizontal. to have a changeup that's having all that downward movement, but also having 17 inch. That's absolutely insane.
I mean,
so you're able to go to the StatCast search and like look up a pitch that's like a certain.
Yep. Searchable really cool. By pitch type, all sorts of things. Really cool. I haven't played around with a ton yet, but once again, there's more like visual statistics in baseball. It's just like, I think
it's cool.
Yeah,
I think it's really cool. I don't know. I kind of wanted to break down Bo Bichette for a little bit, but maybe I did want to show this also. See what you guys think about this. They were able to show some of this. I don't know if you guys saw these clips of some of these like plate views that they were able to get at the Rangers Astros game. I just think it's really cool, and I definitely think this is something that could really make the game exciting if they did more of that.
That'd be really cool.
Being able to like maybe if you put like a little camera on the catcher or you put a little camera on the umpire, I think it'd be a cool thing to like show at bats. I think you kind of going back to what Connor's talking about with movement. I think it'd be cool if we could see a Brewers game and see the actual break on a changeup from the perspective of the hitter, the perspective of the catcher. I think that'd be a cool addition to some of these games.
The catcher is pretty cool because you can really see it kind of come in. Like the umpire's still kind of higher, but if you're the catcher.
Yeah, but I haven't seen many of these clips. I only really saw these few, but I think it's something that could be really cool, and I think it's something that would grow the game if they released more stuff like that.
Is it? I thought Sunday Night Baseball is doing that. I think that's where those clips come from.
I mean, these are the only clips that I saw. Is just those three pitches, just Framber Valdez's curveball. I don't know if they have other footage from the same at bats or they have other footage from the full game. I think it'd be cool if they did. I think it would. I think it would do a lot for the game if they could do that. I thought that was really cool. We could talk about players of the week. I think that would be the best thing to do. And then if we still have time, I'll kind of round about what I was talking about with Bo Bichette. But I want to go through players of the week because I feel like it's going to be good. I did want to talk about some candidates that I did like for player of the week that I didn't choose. Cedric Mullins had a really good week. He had a lot of bats that he put together, drew a lot of walks. I thought he did a good job of not chasing, stole a couple bags. Sean Murphy from the catcher position had a really good week. Liked his production. As terrible as the A's have been, Brent Rooker had a really good week. Even going into the previous week, he hit a few home runs. Jorge Mateo was having a really good week. Like I said, went out the last game with a hip injury. Hopefully that's not too long. Patrick Wisdom was another guy. I think he hit 4 or 5 home runs this week. And then Max Muncy was another guy. Hit some home runs, drew a lot of walks, had a good OPS. The guy that I did choose, I chose Marcus Semien for this week. He was 11 for 23 with 3 home runs. Led baseball in the week with 11 RBIs and 10 runs, both led. He had 5 walks to only 1 strikeout. He only struck out once in almost 30 plate appearances, which I think is really impressive, especially for a guy who has had struggles with striking out in the past. And he did get a stolen base this week, and he almost had a 1.5 OPS. He was second in hits behind Brandon Nimmo for the week. He had a really good week, and I like Marcus Semien a lot. And I'll go into my pitcher later, but I'll let you run with your hitters.
You can go for it, Connor, if you want.
Yeah, so I went with someone that you did mention, actually. I went with Patrick Wisdom. 5 home runs over the last week. He scored 7 runs. Only had 9 RBIs, so I guess not a ton of people on when he's hitting these home runs. But, slugged 1 over the course of this last week. Just crazy. Hit 333. Had a really big week for the Cubs, who are kind of surging. As of recent, we talked a lot about them and how we think they're going to be a pretty good team this year. So I went with Patrick Wisdom this week.
All right.
Yeah, those are good picks. I also want someone you mentioned. I went with Brandon Nimmo, my guy. No, he went 5.
Yeah, I think he had 13 hits in the week.
13 hits. He went 5 for 5 yesterday. Hit his first home run of the year to give the Mets the lead. In I think it's 6th or 7th, a little later in the game, 5th, 6th, 7th inning or something. He made multiple game-saving catches at the wall. He made it in the Oakland game. I think either in extras or in the 9th, they had guys on base. He made a diving catch in the gap. I was honestly shocked when they made that signing. I know it's early, but so far, he's stealing bases now. He's making plays. As soon as he got, a lot of guys kind of fall when they get a big contract, but he seems like one of those guys that got his money and actually is playing, all-star level. So.
Yeah.
If he keeps this up, then this lineup definitely got better than I expected. Because with him and Lindor and Alonso, that's a great start with Marte too. Whew.
Another guy I just mentioned, Cubs are playing the Dodgers. Max Muncy did hit a home run, his 8th of the year in that game. It's 2-2 right now. Cubs-Dodgers going top of the 5th inning. Looks like Bellinger hit a home run, so I'm going to look bad for talking shit about him earlier in the episode. But Mets-Giants are 0-0. But I'll run with my pitcher because going back to the great NL Central, I went with a Pirates pitcher. I chose Johan Oviedo. I don't really know who he is before I saw his name. Don't really know much about Pirates players outside of Andrew McCutcheon. But for the week, he pitched 13 innings in 2 starts, 16 strikeouts in those 13 innings, 1.38 ERA. Somehow managed to only go 1-1. I guess didn't get production one of those games is off on the offensive side. And he had a 1.00 whip. So I think he had a great week, and the Pirates are looking better than I expected. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yep. I went with one of your Yankees players, Kevin. I went with Garrett Cole through the complete game shutout against the Twins on Sunday. Only allowed 3 base runners during those 9 innings. Struck out 10 batters. He has the highest game score so far this year by a pretty wide margin, actually. The second highest game score actually is also a complete game shutout against the Twins, and it's Sandy Alcantara. But we don't need to talk about that. Game score of 92 from Garrett Cole. Yeah, so just one game, but yeah, obviously a dominant game. Garrett Cole's looked really good, as we were kind of mentioning earlier. So I went with Garrett Cole.
Yeah,
it's not a bad pick. I went with an older pitcher, but I went Clayton Kershaw solely because the guy finally got 200 wins, which honestly I thought he was there already. That's still impressive.
Yeah, me too. I thought he had much more than that.
The guy's had multiple back injuries, arm injuries, shoulder. The guy's always hurt. Then he comes in 7 shutout innings, 9 strikeouts, 3 hits, or maybe he gave 1 run, but 7 strong innings, 3 hits, 9 strikeouts, and this guy's still going. It's actually unbelievable that he's still pitching this well. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
every time you think he's done. He just comes out and he still has that curveball, which thing goes from your eyes to the dirt in like half a second. It's insane.
But yeah, I wanted to talk about Kershaw because I started looking into him when I saw that he had the 200 wins. It kind of shocks me, like every single time I look back at his numbers. I mean, it just seems like it doesn't seem possible.
No, it's like in the first inning of the Mets game, I think there was an error to start. Nimmo was on third base, strikes the next 3 guys out, no problem. Just nasty curveballs, like just still throwing 93 on every corner. He's doing his weird thing with the stretch, and he's just insane.
He is one of 10 guys with 3 Cy Youngs. Only guy alongside Verlander to have 3 Cy Youngs and an MVP. He's one of 6 guys to have 200 wins before getting his 100th loss. The other 5 guys on that list are in the Hall of Fame. His record is 288. He will most likely be the 20th or 21st player to reach 3,000 strikeouts. Greinke is ahead of him right now by, I think, 30 or 40, but he's not really that good at baseball right now. So I think they'll both reach the mark. It just depends on who gets there first. So it'll be either 20th or 21st on that list. And he has the lowest career ERA in the live ball era. That's 1920 to now with a 2.48 career ERA is first in the live ball era, which is absolutely insane. And in an era that there has been a lot of home runs, he is a 0.7 home run per 9 for his career. With a 1.00 whip for his career and a 9.8 K per 9. And just to look at his stretch, because 2011 to 2014, he won 3 Cy Youngs and an MVP in that stretch. In that 4-year stretch, he was 72 and 26. As I mentioned, 3 Cy Youngs, 1 MVP. He had 16 complete games in that stretch, eight of them being shutouts. And he had a 2.11 ERA, almost 900 innings, and 948 strikeouts in those 895 innings. I don't really think it gets much better than that. I'm safe to say that he might be the next unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer. Maybe there's a guy before that, Adrian Beltre or something, but I think, there's no question that he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. I think Justin Verlander, is about at like 244 wins as far as like the highest wins for an active player. I think Greinke's somewhere like in 220 or something. So, how old is he? What, 30, 34, 35?
Sounds right.
So maybe he's got like another 4 or 5 years in him where maybe he can throw out 10 to 15 wins. And maybe get to like 260, 270. I think it'd be really hard for him to get to 300. He'd have to, do like a JD Morton situation.
300 wins, and that's a tough thing. That's a lot of starts. 300 wins, and that's also you have to have a benefit of your team too, as we've seen. Wins, honestly, at this point, don't even freaking matter.
That's why I thought that he had so much more. Because like you look at a guy like DeGrom, it's like he never had the run support, and then you look at a guy like Kershaw, you're like, he's playing on a Dodgers team that is seemingly winning 100 games every year. You would think that, he's winning almost 20 games a year, but it's not that easy as far as like actually getting those wins. But pretty cool that we're able to like kind of be around in the generation of Mike Trout, the generation of Clayton Kershaw, and now kind of like the generation of Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge and all these great guys. It's like, it's very cool to be be able to watch the game like at a really cool time. So,
how about Clayton Kershaw versus Justin Verlander? Like, who are you taking their career? Like, whose career are you taking?
Kershaw. Yeah, I think
off first thought Kershaw, but I guess I would have to look more into Verlander's stats probably.
Verlander's had bad years.
Yes,
Kershaw has not. I'm not kidding. You look at his career. Kershaw has literally not had a bad year. An ERA over 3, sure, maybe 1 or 2 years, but like outside of that, like he's been dominant. And I think maybe you can argue at his height, Verlander has been better than Kershaw at his height. Just as far as dominance with maybe strikeouts and all that. But I got to take Kershaw over everybody.
Right. I would also go Kershaw, but do rings factor into that argument at some point too? I mean, obviously, baseball's
it's only
more of a team sport.
It's only 2-1, right?
Is it 2-1 or is it 3-1?
How many? Verlander has
17 and 21 with the Astros.
He didn't have it. He was on the Tigers 17, wasn't he?
Was he still on the Tigers? Is it just 1-1?
I think it's 1-1. He does.
I could
have first one because his World Series stats are awful.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Oh wait, no. They didn't win in 17. They won in 19, right?
No, they lost. They lost the Nationals. They only won against the.
Oh yeah, Nationals won in 19.
No wait. Why wait? Did they win? No.
He went from the Tigers to the Astros in 17, so he has 2 World Series championships.
Okay. You're right.
So he went. I don't even remember what happened. Did he get traded?
Yeah. Oh no, it was I think he got traded after that. He was one of those waiver trades or whatever. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, I know it was something weird. It wasn't like a normal trade.
July,
So.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird time.
Yeah, so he went in 17. They won the World Series, lost in 19, won last year, obviously. Yeah, I mean, Kershaw won in the 2020 shortened season. But, yeah, so it's only 2-1. I mean, there's definitely an argument there, I guess, if, Verlander gets another one. I was kind of picking him to get another one, but I don't know right now.
I mean, I think baseball rings aren't as, in my opinion, stat defining. Just because you could be an insane player. And
Sure.
Yeah.
Kind of how it is. Your team just isn't great, but it definitely. I mean, you could definitely make your team better. But I mean, a guy like Trout, for example, is a Hall of Fame player. But again, I mean, yes, if he stayed healthy, maybe it's a little different story. But even then, his team just isn't good.
Right.
So
what is he? Yeah, he's 13 postseason at bats in his career now.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. They were talking about on the broadcast yesterday that he was really super excited about the WBC, and he talked about the WBC after the fact, how great it was to play intense, meaningful games. And he's like, it's been so long since I've been in the playoffs, I hadn't really remembered that or experienced that in a while. So it's like for a best player of a generation, that's kind of a shitty thing to hear as a fan. That he doesn't feel like he's played in enough important games. It's just kind of unfortunate.
He re-signed with the Angels. He didn't have to do that.
I mean,
it was his choice. Yeah.
I mean, you can't. Yeah, you kind of got to blame him there. I mean, it's kind of what we talked about with everybody's talking about the Javi Baez thing. It's well, maybe he's checked out. Well, he chose to sign a long-term deal to play on the Detroit Tigers. So it's I mean, how much fault do you put in the players for their choice as far as choosing the team to play for?
Exactly. And some of these guys certainly have other factors in that too. Like Trout's got a wife and a kid, and I mean that's got to be a factor too. There are things outside of baseball that obviously influence that decision.
The weather's perfect. He's from Philly or New Jersey, so he's not used to
right.
that. I mean, I don't blame him.
Yeah. I do want to talk about just kind of the new contracts really quick, but I'm going to push the Bo Bichette breakdown to the next episode because we're running kind of long here. But I did want to just kind of talk about and hit on something that's pretty cool. Bo Bichette led the league in hits in 2021, and he led the league in hits in 2022. And he is currently leading the league in hits in 2023. The only person to do that, it hasn't really been done in the National League at all. Pete Rose never led the league in hits 3 years in a row. Tony Gwynn never did it.
Really?
Ichiro did it 5 years in a row in the AL. Altuve did it 4 years in a row in the AL. And it goes back to Kirby Puckett in the late 80s, who did it 3 times in a row. And before that, it goes back to the 60s. So leading the league in hits 3 times is not something that happens very often at all. And I think it's pretty cool that Bo Bichette might have a chance at eclipsing that this year. Like I said, currently leads the league in hits this year as well. So I'll kind of break it down just next episode because I think it's a pretty cool thing. But we kind of touched on Pablo Lopez a little bit before. Signed a 4-year, $73.5 million contract extension with the Twins, which is, I think, comes at a great time when he's pitching really well, and I think it's a really great thing for Minnesota to not only see them spending money on Carlos Correa, but then come back and also spend money on a great pitcher in Pablo Lopez. I think that's a pretty cool moment.
Yeah, yep. It's definitely nice to see the Twins finally spending money, especially spending some money on some starting pitching, which they haven't in the past. And yeah, throw Buxton into that mix too. Signed Buxton to a big contract a few years ago. Yeah, cool to see him. The Twins finally trying to compete, it seems.
Yeah, and then kind of around the same time, the Giants signed Logan Webb to a 5-year, $90 million extension, which they were talking about this on the Baseball is Dead podcast and I kind of agree that, I don't know, just the Webb name always makes me think of Brandon Webb, and I always makes me think that Logan Webb's a lot older than he is, just because I remember he's only like 25, 26 years old.
Oh, I think it was a good deal for them.
So I think that's a really good deal for the Giants. He is struggling a little bit this year. I think he's like 0-3 or 0-4 with like a 4.5 ERA, but I think part of that is not getting a lot of help offensively as far as the wins are concerned. And then I think it's also like a little bit of just being a little bit unlucky because he's had one of the best. His sinker and slider have been like a top like best movement in the league. I think he's been pretty filthy. I think he just needs a little bit more time to figure it out, but I think he'll be good this year. I just don't think the Giants will be very good, and maybe that has something to do with it, just not being on a great team. But I do think it's pretty cool to sign him to a deal that's, beneficial for him. He'll make some money, but I think also good for the team. And they've showed a willingness to spend money. They tried to spend money on Judge. They were unlucky. They tried to spend money on Correa. They were unlucky. So they did sign a few guys. I think maybe in the offseason they'll, spend a little bit more money, but I think they have a shot. I think the Dodgers are on a kind of downturn if they don't spend money next year, and the Padres haven't looked that strong this year. So it's kind of hard to say at this point what the NL West is going to look like. I mean, how good do we really think the Diamondbacks are going to be? I don't really see them sitting atop that division for much longer. But it's very interesting to see what happens with the NL West. But I think the Giants have shown a willingness to spend money, and I think Logan Webb's a good addition.
Yeah. And how about the Reds finally spending some money, locking down Hunter Green, 6 years, $53 million. Really, really, really team-friendly deal, it seems like, if he pans out.
I mean, if he doesn't, honestly, you don't. What is it? What is that? $653.
$9 million a year.
Right. It's not it doesn't break your bank at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what? I mean,
it might break the Reds' bank.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But like,
as far as the league,
you get a big prospect who, is really exciting. Is going to sell seats when he pitches, and you lock him down to a deal like that. Like you have him commit his future to the Reds. I think it's just really exciting to see that.
They have a lot of young guys. That team has a lot of young guys. They got India. They have that guy De La Cruz coming up. They actually have players, but I mean, they just need to, like I said,
a few years
sell seats first.
Yeah.
My concern is because we were talking about. I think I was talking about it with Jake that StatCast releases like how much home runs they think are like per ballpark. Like you could look at Judge and see if he played every game in like Great American Ballpark, how many home runs, or if he played every game in Coors, like how many home runs would he hit. And it's kind of crazy that Great American Ballpark has proven to be like almost higher than Coors as far as a hitter-friendly ballpark. So that kind of concerns me as like locking down a long-term deal for Hunter Green in Cincinnati. As filthy as he might be, a guy that's throwing 100 miles an hour in a stadium that everything goes out of might be an issue. And maybe some of his ERA might be. It'd be interesting to look like at his like ERA plus and all the plus statistics as his career progresses and see how much the ballpark factors into his success. I mean, I think it'll be nice getting a lot of swings and misses as far as not even have to worry about the ballpark. But I think on balls in the air, when you're throwing 98 miles an hour, 100 miles an hour consistently, maybe an issue as far as home runs being a problem. But I guess that's to be seen. But I do think it's cool that they're spending a little bit of money on him, and it would be nice to see him have some success in Cincinnati.
Yeah, and it feels like he's close. Like it really does feel like he's close to me. It seems like right now, like if you see like watching some of the clips on home runs, and stuff, it seems like he's just missing spots consistently with his slider.
Yeah, it's just a command issue.
Get some command on the slider, and like, who knows? Like, I mean, sky's the limit for that kid. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's always been a command issue. I think the walks are down this year, which I think is very good to see. And like you said, sky's the limit. It's really just a matter of throwing strikes more consistently and not getting in bad counts. And I think the stuff is obviously there. I mean, the man's absolutely filthy. It's kind of crazy, but I think that kind of rounds out what we're talking about. I don't know if you guys have any notes. I think I hit on everything. Bowl predictions are cool. I think we should do them later in the year as well. Kind of like follow up on what we did.
A's look like they're moving to Vegas.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's pretty fun. I mean, Vegas is.
I think they said 2027 though, right?
Oh no, there's definitely because they have to build a whole stadium. I think.
Yeah, but they already want to purchase the land or committed to purchasing the land.
It's gonna be near the strip and everything too. That's gonna be insane.
Yeah,
that'll be fun.
They're spending like $1 billion allegedly on the new stadium too.
Yeah, that's gonna that stadium's probably gonna be
all of a sudden they have money, huh?
Exactly.
All of a sudden they got money, huh?
Yeah. They're gonna lose like 100 games a year. They go to Vegas and just buy everybody.
Yep. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense from like a fan perspective. Like Vegas, like you're gonna have there are gonna be people going to your games
always
year round,
at the game,
regardless.
Always be people at
it's
the game.
It's just something to do. It's not like going to the casino and stuff. That's why like the Knights have such good attendance. And I don't know about the Raiders, I guess, but
they sell out.
I'm sure the Raiders did pretty well.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people from there's Raiders fans everywhere too, which the thing is not athletics fans everywhere, but I mean you'll still get people at the games. You'll get people that live in Vegas that'll probably start rooting for them just because why not?
I mean, all the Golden Knights fans came out of the woodwork. I mean,
it'll happen.
People will show, people will show. And then we kind of talked about it before, like as far as them adding teams too. I think it's all good for the game, but I don't think playing in a shitty stadium in Oakland is good for baseball in any way. So I mean, I think it's good to see them leave. It is kind of crazy. I was thinking about this the other day that like the Raiders moved out, the A's moved out, and then the Golden State Warriors just happen to be the richest franchise in a sport that plays in the same city.
The only because they win. That's why.
Yeah,
but I just their new arena's in San Francisco now, so
that's true. Is it? Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. So I guess Oakland's effectively dead.
I mean,
as far as the sport's concerned,
but
I do wish they had built a new stadium for the A's in Oakland.
Yeah,
I mean, who knows? Like maybe if you build a new, I'm sure if you build a new stadium, you get better fan attendance. Like that place is just
100%.
I think it would have been cool for them to build something in Oakland. I think I'm just attached to the fact that Moneyball is the greatest movie ever made, and I like to see the Oakland A's still around, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. So, you think they'll be the Las Vegas A's? I don't think that's going to happen. They're just going to get rid of the name altogether.
Yeah, I think it'd be either. I think it'll be Las Vegas Athletics.
Okay, I wasn't sure if they were going to change the name too and try to completely forget the past.
They might. There also was a chance they'll say, "Let's just give it up.
Yeah.
No more Moneyball. We're done. We're just spending money now."
Yeah, I think it'd be cool at the very least for them to keep the A's name if they're gonna leave and not build a stadium.
Keep the colors and stuff. But that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But the only thing I think we talk about is Madison Bumgarner, but just him getting DFA'd.
Yeah, we can touch on that real quick. Yeah.
If his retirement's coming up, I mean, it doesn't make a difference. He's, in my opinion, he's a Hall of Fame pitcher solely because of the postseason. No joke. I just think it was probably the most dominant. He's the most dominant postseason pitcher, maybe.
Almost solely because of that World Series before in the 2014 World Series, was it?
Yeah, but he had 2 wins and a save just in that World Series alone on 2 days rest or something. He pitched 4 innings.
His bullpen, his success. I mean, even coming out of the bullpen, certain games and closing games. I mean, no matter what you did, you started him, you brought him in the middle of a game, you brought him at the end of the game. I mean, he shut everything down. It was just ridiculous.
52 2/3 innings in one postseason.
Holy. Yeah.
He probably won't be a Hall of Famer, but I wish they would just solely because of his postseason performances. That's a hit.
Yeah.
And his hitting too.
But yeah, I mean, I guess it seems like his career is effectively over. I don't see anybody claiming claiming him.
Maybe someone on a cheap deal, but even then, I bet honestly he seems like a guy that wouldn't. That probably is like he probably doesn't care. He probably live on his ranch in Arizona
Yeah,
and never touch a baseball again.
yeah. But I mean, I kind of touched on it before. I mean, it'd be cool if the Diamondbacks were good. They have a lot of young players. I mean,
Yeah, that's smart. They need to get young at this point.
yeah, I think they just need to bring up guys and just embrace the young thing, and they don't really need to have.
I mean, I think if they get lucky, maybe this year, but I think next year should be the year they really try to go all in. If I had to say,
Yeah, I think
you never know. This year they could also just go on a run, but I'd say next year's probably the year.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought with the Orioles too. Like they're going to be good. They'll win 80 something games. Maybe Diamondbacks will win a 70, 80 games, but I don't think it's going to be their year until next year.
Yeah.
But it'll be cool to see what happens. But I think that touches on everything. Like I said, I'll go over more of the Bo Bichette things next week when we have more time. We'll see what we want to talk about then. But for now, I don't know. There wasn't too many games today. Padres are playing the Diamondbacks. Kind of mentioned Dodgers, Cubs still 2-2. Pirates won today. Rockies beat the Phillies today. Twins lost to the Red Sox. Yankees beat the Angels. And then we have the Mets playing the Giants. So we'll see what happens in those series. Do you guys know of any series to look forward to? Any big series next week that you guys can think of off the top of your head?
This weekend, Yankees Blue Jays this weekend.
Yankees Blue Jays, that's a good matchup. I see Houston.
I think Houston Atlanta's this weekend. I think Houston's Atlanta. That'll be a good one.
I mean, honestly, Cubs Dodgers might be decent depending on both these teams.
Yeah. That's pretty much it, though. Looking at it, Red Sox and Milwaukee. That's not. I mean, that's all right.
And then
and then you have Seattle and St. Louis. It'll be interesting to see where those teams are at because I think when we kind of talked about it, it definitely seems like both of those teams are underachieving. The Seattle Mariners.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that rounds out everything. So we're gonna end here.